In this video, we wanted to show you how to stir-fry spaghetti, teaching you 3 different recipes from 3 different countries. First, we'll be sticking to our bread and butter, Cantonese food, and show you great black pepper spaghetti from Hong Kong. Then, we'll swing over to Japan to teach you what's probably the oldest fried spaghetti in Asia, that ever-so-classic Napolitan. And finally, finish up with a spicy Thailand style called dried chili fried spaghetti. So, first up, the Hong Kong sort, which is a cha-chan-teng classic. Now, for the unaware, cha-chan-teng are this sort of Canto-Western fusion that we've covered quite a bit on this channel before because, it's just an outrageously fun category of food. Like deep-fried French toast, beef and egg breakfast sandwich, pineapple buns, cheesy seafood rice. What's not to love here? And obviously, as the world's noodle, they've got spaghetti in there as well. But there is a specific kind of context that you'll usually find them in. You see, if you walked into a cha-chan-teng, often what you're greeted by is some sort of set menu, complete with a main, side starch, and some sort of drink. For the mains, you might find stuff like a Hong Kong curry, a steak, pork chop, sometimes even a stir-fry or two, and we've covered a lot of this stuff before. But to go along with that, there will also be a side starch, whether it be rice noodles, instant noodle, macaroni, udon, or spaghetti. It's all super mix and match. It's up to you. Form-wise, you can have them low, mixed, chow, stir-fried, or even just tossed in soup. And flavor-wise, there's also options. For spaghetti, probably the most classic would be one of A, supreme soy sauce flavor, which is a Cantonese classic, B, ketchup flavor, which we actually covered before, C, with a white sauce, which is basically a bechamel, or D, black pepper flavor, which is what we wanted to show you today. So then, to get started with Hong Kong-style spaghetti, you're going to need spaghetti. Just a bog-standard supermarket sort. Cook it till it's done, which is our recommendation. But for the al dente diehards, do what makes you happy. Remove, and if holding it for a bit, jiggle it in front of a fan or AC to vent out some steam and prevent overcooking. Then, to a wok, first toss in 2 tablespoons of oil, and over a medium flame, go in with a half a tablespoon of flour. Mix and fry that for about 15 seconds. Then add in a quarter of a sliced onion and fry that in the roux for about 1 minute or until it's softened. Then toss in a half a minced shallot together with 2 cloves of minced garlic and continue to fry that all until the roux cook through, or about 3 minutes. Then toss in 1 tablespoon of freshly ground black pepper and fry that all until good and fragrant, or about a half a minute. Then toss in a seasoning sauce, the components of which we'll list at the top of the screen. But don't forget the Worcestershire, which we almost did, 1 teaspoon. Swap the flame to high, let it bubble to thicken, and then move it over to a bowl. Then, same wok, no need to rinse it or anything. Over a medium flame, toss in 1 tablespoon of oil, and then go in with 30 grams of sliced ham. Fry it until it's slightly darkened, or about 1 minute. Then add in your spaghetti. Stir fry it for about 30 seconds, then add back in your sauce and mix that super well. Finish with a tablespoon of butter, mix it all again, and out. Now, that was Hong Kong, but if we zoomed out a bit, cha-chan-teng definitely isn't the only food in its category. The traditions actually derive from an even older sort of Canto-Western fusion from Guangzhou, which was called soy sauce Western. And moving a bit further north, there's also a kind of borderline extinct Shanghai Russian fusion called Hai Pai Western. And outside of China, there's also plenty of similar phenomenon, whether it be the cook shops of Thailand, the Filipino Western food of Manila, or the so-called Hainan Western in Singapore and the Straits. Early to mid-20th century, localized versions of Western food popped up throughout Asia. But older than soy sauce Western, older than the cook shops, the granddaddy of all of this stuff has to be none other than Japanese yoshoku. No, we're not a Japanese cooking channel, but as lovers of cha-chan-teng, yoshoku in some ways really does feel like a sister cuisine. Cheesy seafood rice, doria, pineapple bun, melon pan, Hong Kong curry, Japanese curry. Trying to follow any possible pathways between the two is insanely murky. But that aforementioned ketchup sauce spaghetti, I think it'd be a pretty fair guess that it was likely derived from the most famous yoshoku dish of them all, spaghetti Napolitan. Now, Napolitan is actually super interesting. I think everybody knows the dish as, that Japanese ketchup spaghetti. But the oldest Napolitans in Japan actually didn't even use ketchup. It was tomato sauce or paste, and the old recipes actually hew reasonably close to escoffiers, which is likely how the dish got its name. That all changed, though, post-war, during the American occupation. The combination of a law called PL 480, or Food for Peace, and the American military surplus meant that previously expensive yoshoku dishes could now be made much more cheaply, albeit sometimes with an adjustment or two. The modern ketchup-based Napolitan came from a neighborhood restaurant in Yokohama called the Center Grill. It was made from a base of classic yoshoku technique, but adapted with the ingredients that were around in order to make something tasty and affordable for the restaurant's less elite clientele. So then, in order to make a Napolitan, you will, of course, need some spaghetti. Now, Japanese sources are actually quite particular about the specific way that you should cook this. Generally speaking, cooking till done, coating with oil, then tossing in the fridge overnight, and then reblanching to order the following day. It does feel counterintuitive, but in our experience in China at least, sometimes we've heard people complain that the durum-based Italian pastas are a little too hard. So this process can be a great way to soften things up, get it a little closer to the texture of a non-durum Asian noodle, without, of course, things getting soggy. In our opinion, it's up to you. For us, we do like the texture of spaghetti, so for ours, we'll just be working from a bog-standard boiled noodle. So then, to make it, to a wok, first swirl in about 2 tablespoons of oil, then add an eighth of a sliced onion. Fry that over a medium flame for about 1 minute, or until it begins to soften, then add in 1 sliced hot dog. Once the hot dog's curled and the onions cooked through, about 1 minute more, scooch those up the side of the wok and add in 4 tablespoons of ketchup. Fry that in the oil for another minute or so to mellow out the harshness of the ketchup. Then add in the spaghetti, same quantity as before. Give that a good mix. Season with a 1/4 teaspoon salt, 1/4 teaspoon MSG, a 1/2 teaspoon sugar. Mix, add in a tablespoon of Kewpie mayo, mix it again, and finally 1/4 of a green bell pepper. Quick 15-second fry, tablespoon knob of butter, and out. Napolitan, done. Optionally topped with some Kraft powdered parm and or a bit of Tabasco. So, last up is Thailand, which of course has its own old-school localized Western food tradition, which are called cook shops. And they actually share a lot of similarities with that Hainan Western from down in the Straits. But unlike Chachanteng, unlike Yoshoku, the cook shops of Thailand don't really feel culturally central in the same way. These days, functioning mostly as living memories from a bygone era. But that's not to say that Thailand doesn't have its own style of Western food. Far from it. Because, obviously, Bangkok, for decades, has consistently been one of the most visited cities in the world. Every year, tourists from China, India, Malaysia, Europe, and North America descend on the city, whether it's to see the sights or just eat, drink, and play happy. And so if you go on the streets in Bangkok, I think that influence can be laid pretty bare, even away from the tourists. You can find stuff like crepes, malatang, Korean fried chicken, street sushi, street steak, salad rolls, kanam Tokyo, all there right next to the yams and the somdams. Sit down at a mall restaurant, and sometimes things can also similarly get fun, interesting, and weird. Now, I adore Hong Kong Chachanteng, but there's always this sort of nostalgic quality about them. But this, on the other hand, this feels very present. And so, predictably, there's more than a couple Thaified spaghetti modern classics. Most famously, Tom Yum spaghetti and Drunken spaghetti kimao. And while we'll link a couple recipes for those down in the description, when researching this video, I found myself increasingly drawn to a simpler, bit more home cooking of a spaghetti that's somehow way more than the sum of its parts. A dish called sabagadi pad prikang, or dried chili fried spaghetti. And it's super, super simple. To make it, first just add about 100 grams of sliced bacon to a pot, together with a 1/2 cup of water. Over a high flame, boil the water until it's basically evaporated. Then swap the flame to medium-low and let the bacon fry and render out its lard. Once you're looking at something a bit like this, add an eighth of a diced onion and let that continue to cook. Once barely golden, about 2 minutes, toss in 2 cloves of minced garlic, and then once those are fragrant, Add in 8 spicy dried chilies cut in half. Mix well, then add in your cooked spaghetti. Stir fry it for about 30 seconds, then swap the flame to low and toss in a tablespoon of oyster sauce, a half tablespoon of fish sauce, and the rest of the seasoning, which I'll just list on the top of the screen. Add in 3 large handfuls of Thai basil, mix it for about a half minute to wilt, and out.
So, let's give it a taste first. Alright, so obviously they are all pretty tasty. My personal favorite is still the black pepper one because I am a Cantonese after all. But among all of this, they have their own characteristics, like the Thai one. It's very fun and it has a very high easy to make to deliciousness ratio, and it feels like something that you can just whip up in the middle of the night if you feel hungry and you want something that's very tasty. As for Napolitan, it has a very special place in my heart. It's actually one of the very first dishes that I learned how to make when I started to live by myself. And of course, it's the grandpa of all of this Asian spaghetti dishes, and it's definitely an absolute classic. So right, as always, recipe in the description box. A big thank you for everyone that's supporting us on Patreon, and of course, subscribe for more Chinese cooking videos.